The historical knowledge or background of the Nigerian history will enable you to appreciate the enormity of the Nigerian problem or the multifaceted nature of the Nigerian problem today. You see, Nigerian issue of problematic nature would not be a quick fix, contrary to the opinion expressed by certain quarters or personalities. Nigerian problem stands at foundation, the foundation that establishes the country or a contraction known as Nigeria is problematic and faulty. And this we are going to discuss and elaborate on this subject matter, the reason why Nigeria has continued to dwindle economically, socially, security-wise, and otherwise, not until those nagging issues standing at the foundation of this country is being addressed, definitely there will not be a headway. It doesn't matter of whether there is a change of dispensation or not, but the same issue continue to repeat, reoccur, recycle itself, staring at us for those who do not care to pay attention when we fail to learn from history. Definitely, we're giving history an opportunity to repeat itself. That is just the case of Nigeria today. It doesn't matter whether there is a change of political dispensation or not. What matters is the foundation, the very foundation under which Nigeria was laid is described as a mistake and misfortune for the Nigerian ethnic nationalities. We are going to drive through this and you will get to understand it is not just about the person, but about the system. When the system is right, when the foundations are set right, definitely anyone building on that must build under that consciousness of a system established to entrench unity, development, and progress and inclusiveness for all. But that is far from being the truth. We are going to discuss this following the statement of the past leaders or supposed founding fathers who expressed lack of confidence in the Nigerian project. And that narrative has not changed, not even in our time. Why? Because we continue to pay lip service to the nagging issues and trying to solve the problem by living in denial could not even wish away the nagging issues here. We are going to take a very important discussions here, and we are going to look what is the problem and where does the problem stems from, and how do we address the problem from the root. It's not about political dispensation, as my people do say. All these endless rhetorics, change of dispensation, coalition, and the rest of them has been time immemorial, citing the days in 1959, pre-Independence Day, when the NPC, the Northern People's Congress, and the National Congress of Nigeria and Cameroon party formed an alliance which is being headed by Zeke and Amado Bello, that of the North. You see, all these things have not addressed the nagging issues on why Nigeria is stuck in the wheel of motionless and despair. So it is not about coalition or change of dispensation, but what is fundamental is the problem deeply rooted in the amalgamation of the Nigeria. Nigeria was not designed to be one that was under fears, coerced to become Nigeria. And inasmuch as that remains, because the very reason why it was amalgamated was not to address the nagging issues or to address the political or the economic needs of the ethnic nationalities. It was mainly meant to serve the interests of the British business empire. Let's have this one or two reflections here. What transpired even pre-independence days, and that you will appreciate definitely that Nigeria, of course, cannot move forward with this current template. Shortly after the 1914 amalgamation of the North and Southern Protectorates, it started getting clear that the country was bound to fail as the amalgamation in question was done with colonial fears, without the consent of the consensus, without the consent and the consensus of the different tribes, which were over 300. So the first issue is that the foundation, the amalgamation, was not established under the consent and consensus knowledge of the people. Over 300 tribes or ethnic nationalities was not consulted. Their consent was not sought for. Their permission was not sought for. They weren't consulted to deliberate on such, whether it would be in the interest or protect their collective interests and the rest of them. So the template was not defined. It was a fierce imposition on the people. So you can see whatever the people do not agree on will not stand. It doesn't matter how long you continue to live in that deception. So that is quite established. It's a very clear issue. Now, this is what happens next. This prompted the political leaders to start asking for de-amalgamation so as to foretell the future danger which the forced amalgamation portends. Now, this prompted the leaders of then, or the founding fathers, to begin to ask for de-amalgamation, means splitting or dissolving the amalgamation, because it does not stand the test of time. It does not foster any unity, progress, and coherence among the people. Rather, endangers the continued existence of the different ethnic nationalities. It portends great danger to the continued existence of different ethnic nationalities, just as what we are experiencing today. So it is very clear that some persons, as of then, spotted the problems of Nigeria, but they don't have the political will to pursue it to logical conclusion. And reason why Nigeria is being trapped today, the political class continue to deceive the gullible masses, enriching themselves at the expense of the people and becoming puppet to these Western powers and the rest of them. So not until such is addressed, the system will remain faulty and the people will be sacrificed at the altar of sycophancy and the rest of them. Here is what one of the prominent leaders of Nigeria, then in the person of Ahmadu Bello, has to say regarding the amalgamation, which he described in his own terms as the mistake of 1914. The mistake of 1914. Recall recently when Nasir El-Rufai was addressing the reason for coalition is to address the issues, the mistake. He also referred to that as the mistake of 1914, that Nigerians were not designed to live as one. The consent of the ethnic nationalities that formed Nigeria was not sought for. And if that is the case, will coalition of different parties, merging together of different parties, be the solution to that? No. It is not about the change of dispensation, as I've maintained. It is about addressing, going back to the root, the foundation, to address the main problem, the fundamental issue, which stands as the system that established the country. It was out of duress, out of fears. The people's consent was not sought for. And to move together, work together without an agreement. So that agreement was not sought for, and as such foundation will not stand. It will continue to soak the blood of the innocent across the regions. This was what Ahmadu Bello spotted out in 1944. Let's see what he has to say. Then, to that end, Ahmadu Bello, speaking on behalf of the Northern Protectorate in 1944, described the amalgamation as the mistake of 1914, which, if allowed to remain, would ultimately lead to unstoppable bloodshed and a failed country. This is what Ahmadu Bello said in 1944. 1944 down to this time is how many years? So you cannot dismiss that position. It has defied decades, it has defied the times and the odds. Keep staring at Nigerians. He said the 1914 amalgamation was a mistake of the 1914, where the ethnic nationalities or tribes that existed then, which are part of this country, their consent wasn't sought for. So what are you saying? And as such, it will possibly lead to the bloodshed and a failed country, just as we are seeing Nigeria today. The doom, has been spelled about the country. It's just buying time to happen. And we are trapped in this mess and quagmire, stuck in the wheel of motionless and despair. And some people are reasoning, what could be the reason? Definitely, the people in the helm of affairs aren't the reason today why Nigeria is sinking abysmally. The reason stands at the mistake of the 1914 that have not been addressed up to this time. Because of the selfish interests on the part of the political elite, they continue to shy away from the realities to discuss the issues of consent, the continued existence of Nigeria, of that mistake, of that fraud that was committed by the British authorities just to protect their business empires. It was not meant to, it was not defined or tailored to address the nagging issues of the ethnic nationalities standing as security, economic growth, and progress of different ethnic nationalities, and as such must be abolished. That was the position of Ahmadu Bello, of course, in 1944. Now let's move on. We'll get to understand what is playing out and relate that with the current realities today. It's just a recycling of a dysfunctional system that people fail to address, and some persons are still calling the attention of the political elites who has failed to pay attention to those matters because of their selfish drive and interest, and as such that will cause the masses a continuous shedding of blood and dysfunctional system. Let's see. This is what one of the leading founding fathers has to say in the person of Awolowo, speaking on behalf of the Yorubas. You see, the major tribes, the Hausas, the Yorubas, and the Igbos. Look at what their perspectives were as of then, and you can relate and compare it, contrast with the current realities if anything has changed differently, or rather, it keeps on staring at us that not until such fundamental issues have been addressed and revisited, which is the de-amalgamation of the Nigerian configuration or contraction, as the case is. Awolowo was speaking on behalf of the Yorubas and the Western minorities, described Nigeria as a mere geographical expression, not qualified to be called a country, let alone a nation. So this is the statement of Awolowo. He said that Nigeria is a mere geographical expression, not even qualified to be a country, let alone a nation. So Nigeria have not found its feet on the path of nationhood. They are still wallowing in the wilderness of uncertainty, frustration, bloodshed, kidnapping, arrest, and the rest of them. It is becoming more worse that Nigeria is not even, cannot even attempt to be a country where her citizens' rights to life has been usurped. People are being killed in their hundreds, in their thousands, in their about 2 years ago, it's been reported that 615,000 Nigerians were killed. Over 2 billion plus was kidnapped. Over trillions of naira was paid as ransoms. So is that a country? No, you should have judged by yourself. Is that what a country should represent? Is that what people should call a country? So people have seen far ahead that this country does not worth dying for. It does not worth, of course, paying such sacrifice. Let's see what another person has to say. Now, Awolowo added something. Awolowo added that if the amalgamation could not be reversed. If the amalgamation could not be reversed, then Nigeria should be structured as a strictly federal state so as to enable each tribe enjoy autonomy, this freedom from being dominated by single any one single tribe. So as of then, Awolowo was pointing out to the fact that if the amalgamation should not be abolished, then let Nigeria be structured as a federal state to address the dominance of a one single majority or one single tribe. Then it happens that Igbos were meritoriously the major occupiers of high positions in government private sectors, both in the ministry and the rest of them, while Tafawa Balewa was the prime minister. So Igbos, by virtue of their ingenuity and merit, happens to occupy several high position, top government offices. Then, so that's resulted to strife and envy among other ethnic nationalities. And they begin to envy Igbos and begin to antagonize the Igbo race. This has not changed ever since then. It has become a recurrent decimal. Then Awolowo advocated that a country or contraction of called Nigeria should be structured as a strictly federal states so as to enable each tribe enjoy autonomy, this freedom from being dominated by any one single tribe. So he was advocating for autonomy or the amalgamation of the Nigerian state so that to address this myriad of problems starting at us. This envy, backbiting, resentment, bitterness among the different ethnic nationalities that is still playing out today. It has not been solved. It has been rooted down to the amalgamation. So not until that is dropped, the bitterness, the envy against one another, the hatred is becoming too high that we consume the entire ethnic nationality. That is quite unfortunate, but that is the reality. Now, another issue here, we have to discuss another ethnic nationality leader in the person of Zik. But Zik has a contrary position regarding this as of then. But Zik, but Nnamdi Azikiwe was speaking for the Igbos. They believe they are the leaders of the Igbos, political leaders or opinion leaders from the Igbo extraction then. Now, now this is what he said. Denounced Awolowo and Ahmadu Bello, terming them ethnic champions. This was what Zik did. You see, because of his vested interests, Zik do not see the importance to address the foundational issue. He denounced Awolowo and Ahmadu Bello and termed them ethnic politicians. You see, this is quite unfortunate. This is the reason why Nigerians are suffering today. So Zik is the foundation of the problem of this country, because there are people who saw ahead of Ojukwu that even Nigeria was not designed to be one. But Zik, being selfish and destructive in his intentions, just to satisfy his selfish or political interest, refused to buy into the idea of Ahmadu Bello, Awolowo, and the rest of them then, because he believed he will have better chances of occupying the seat of power, being that Igbos then were among the ruling class. But that has not solved any problem either. That has not solved any problem. In the military hierarchies, Igbos were topping and one of the top officials then. But has that solved the problem? Eventually, that led to the death, to the massacre of over 200 officers, military officers of the Igbos. So the problem has not been solved, in as much you continue to live in denial of that reality, failing to solve the problem. So amalgamation as a mistake, as Awolowo Ahmadu Bello described it. But Nnamdi Azikiwe, speaking for the Igbos, denounced Awolowo and Ahmadu Bello, terming them ethnic champions. So who is Zeke today? Who could remember him? Of what influence does this command? What is his reputation? How will an average Igbo describe Zeke today? As a failure, total monumental failure. A failure raised to the power of 7. Now, this is what he said. He accused them of nursing a sectional agenda against the unity of Nigeria. You have seen the unity of Nigeria today. And he declared further that the unity of Nigeria was not negotiable. You can imagine how stupid and selfish Zeke was then. Because of his personal interests or pursuits, described Nigeria as non-negotiable, the unity of Nigeria that have trapped people in this mess, the state of uncertainty. People are being killed, rounded up today, yet without any direction or vision for this country. And every Nigeria today does not have confidence in the future of Nigeria, does not have confidence that Nigeria would guarantee his safety. That is quite unfortunate. What is going on? The same Zeke, out of selfishness, brought Nigeria to where it is today. Believing that one Nigeria, just exactly the same thing P2B is doing today, is in the shoe of Zeke. People have been calling for the disintegration of this country to address the issue of amalgamation. The amalgamation have expired over 14 years or more ago, yet they failed to address the problem, to discuss the continued existence of Nigeria. That is quite unfortunate. Look at them preaching unity, preaching the rest of them, why the foundation is wrong, thinking that 4 years could be enough to address that. They just want to make a name, and in the stand of time that they were once the president of Nigeria. And after that, what happened? He was once the governor of Anambra State. After that, he left billions, he left that. What is the state of Anambra today? That is just my own argument. So if you are claiming, of course, Peter B has come to say that I will be a one-term president. He just wants to fulfill his life ambition of becoming the president of Nigeria. But with the issues, the nagging issues, the foundational issues that is the main problem of Nigeria been addressed? No. With the insecurity, with the hunger, with the frustration on the streets, and in that 4 years, you just want to make a name, and that is just it. It's quite unfortunate that these people continue to toe the path of failure, the path of frustration, retrogression, because of their selfish ambition. They are not meant, they don't meant to address the issues. Otherwise, they should be calling for constitutional reforms and engaging the ethnic nationalities across the regions to address the foundational issues raised over how many years, decades ago. In 1944, Ahmadu Bello raised this concern that the 1914 amalgamation was a mistake. But today, these people are not living in that reality. They are not accepting the fact that Ahmadu Bello was right today. But the reality keeps staring at us. People understood that it was a mistake, not just a mistake, a monumental failure, leading to bloodshed, leading to economic somersault, retrogression, and uncertainty engulfing the Nigerian political sphere. And some persons are still wallowing in the same deception. Where is Zeke today? I believe wherever he is in the grave, he will never enjoy peace. Why? Because he failed to address what is right. He had the opportunity, but misused it in the name of fighting or protecting one Nigeria, which is a mere mirage, has been expressed by even the so-called founding father. They never have confidence in the one Nigeria. So why are you living in such deception? So how did Peter B think in just a matter of 4 years that he will fix the nagging issues? Some persons say, well, life will definitely improve. Improve to what extent? As my brother would say, so you must get to the root of the problem, not a change of political dispensation that will guarantee the security, the safety of Nigerians and the economic revival, of course, within the Nigerian state. No, it cannot be addressed in a matter of 8 years or 20 or more. The foundational issues, if not being addressed, will continue to linger It continues to stir out all as Sunday. This is the point I want to raise at this time. And everybody who has a liberal mind and understanding must see in the light of the current realities that there is no hope as long as Nigerians continue to wallow in self-deception, denial of that reality that was pointed out by Ahmadu Bello and other prominent Nigerians, which Ojukwu also pointed out when he began to see definitely that what Ahmadu Bello said in 1944 was nothing but the truth. He saw the bloodshed, his own people being killed, murdered across the northern space, the northern regions and western regions. He began to see that truly the bloodshed and a failed state is inevitable unless the amalgamation treaty was addressed, unless the continued existence of the Nigerian state was addressed. If not, we continue to wallow in abject poverty. But Zeke then never saw it. He believed he's Zeke of Africa, Zeke of Nigeria. Where is Zeke today? A monumental failure. By my own assertion and opinion, he failed woefully to address what he should have addressed. He was so selfish, driven by his selfish quests and interests, certainly plunging Nigeria in not just the Igbo race, but in antagonizing the Igbo race today. And the reason why the Igbo race are being regarded as people with dominance tendency, because he believed that it favors him or his interests at that particular time. He never paid attention. That will be tomorrow. And we are trapped in that tomorrow in a very big mess, very uncertain and injurious to the continued existence of the people. After moving the motion for independence in 1953, Anthony Enahoro proposed that a secession clause should be incorporated into the future constitution of Nigeria so as to give legal backing for any tribe to peacefully exit the forced union if it feels marginalized in future. You see, Anthony Enahoro was a great man. He was the Senate president then. You see, after moving a motion for independence in 1953, he said that a clause of secession should be incorporated into the constitution. But Zeke opposed that at the plenary. It is quite unfortunate. According to Enahoro, such provision in our constitution would instill in all Nigerians' future leaders the fear of the consequences of misgovernance. So Enahoro cited that there could be possibility of abusing the privileges by the political elites, and this could serve as a deterrent to those who want to mortgage the destinies of Nigerians. But it was opposed by Zeke because he is nursing an intention to become the prime minister or the future president of Nigeria. That is just what his ambition, his life ambition. That is what he lived for. He did not envisage and see beyond today. And that is what the Igbos are suffering, not just the Igbos now. Other ethnic nationalities has been affected as well by that single act of irresponsibility and insincerity expressed by Zeke. Then it's quite unfortunate. Today, who recognizes him? As far as I'm concerned, he has no place, of course, in the Hall of Fame. That is quite interesting. At a later date, Awolowo too made a case for secession clause, but Isaac Iwe again resisted him and instigated the colonial authorities to threaten him and Enahoro, with charges of treason felony if they didn't stop proposing secession clause for the future constitution. Awolowo Enahoro understood there is need to incorporate the secession clause in the future constitution to give any ethnic nationality who feels threatened within Nigeria, within the forced unity, of course, the legal right to separate, to move on with their lives, just as what is going on. But that reality keep on staring at us. Yes, somebody may have blamed the Zeke for their selfishness and the rest of them. Like Awolowo was intending that Nigeria should separate and the rest of them, but Zeke, out of selfishness and foolishness, do not see ahead beyond his nose as what is happening in Nigeria today. People are dissatisfied, embittered about the continued existence of Nigeria. It clearly shows that the North never believed in one Nigeria. The Yorubas, the Western people, do not never believed in one Nigeria. Even the current president once said 30 years ago or more that I do not believe in the existence of one Nigeria. I never believed that. So if they are becoming sectional, of course, or tribal bigots, they have shown that position ever since. So you don't have to blame them. They never believed in one Nigeria. They believe in the ethnic, of course, champions and tribes or regions. That is quite true. So it is only the Igbos who stupidly and ignorantly stick in that one Nigeria project. But today, the reverse is the case. They've come to understand that Zeke was one of the major problems, and we cannot continue to live in that denial. The mistake was made, and Ojukwu eventually become the voice and the face of liberation for the Igbos people. Eventually consulted Awolowo to correct the error of the past. Because of the selfishness on the part of Awolowo, he wanted to become the same president just as Zeke, and thinking that we all go well with him. But eventually he died unfulfilled. He died embittered about the frustration resulting to the denial, not being able to fulfill his lifetime ambition of becoming the president of Nigeria. Ojukwu gave him, at the platter of gold, the opportunity to become the first indigenous president of the Oduduwa nation. By declaring Oduduwa, let Ojukwu declare the sovereign state of Biafra. But Awolowo thought he could, of course, eat his cake and have it. He never knew he was playing the dangerous game, a very devastating game that would cost him his peace and his ambition. Today, he died asking for even let him become the president of Nigeria for one day, which never materialized. He would have become the first indigenous president of Oduduwa nation, but he missed such opportunity, seeking to become the secular president of Nigeria. You can see how people have missed the future, the opportunity to have engendered progress, unity among and coherence among their regions. But unfortunately, because of selfish interests, they placed above the future of the people, cost them their own pain. And today, what is the relevance even today? It's quite unfortunate. How many people believe in the AWO program and the rest of them? It is quite unfortunate. They had such opportunity, but failed to do what is needful. Now, let's continue with this. Why Azikiwe did all this? Igbo cheered and urged him on because they felt the future Nigeria was theirs. You see, to dominate and lord it over every other tribe. That is not the true picture of what this person is trying to convey. Igbos meritoriously, a time came in Nigeria when Igbos was the VC of Lagos University, was the VC of Ibadan, and eventually, meritoriously, deserved to become the VC of Ahmadu Bello University, but the North resisted it. They said no, they wouldn't accept that. They felt intimidated and, of course, embarrassed by such. But then, if it is based on merit, the best brains, the best hands will take it. Suddenly, that is not the case today. The reason why Nigeria is what it is today, because there is no merit in the choice of who becomes the leaders and who occupies any positions. They have been bastardized to the point that it is mere political compensations and the rest of them, and you don't expect the best to come out. That is quite unfortunate. The reason why Nigeria might not recover from the path of destruction. Sorry to use the word destruction, but then the reality keeps staring at us today. Would you have imagined that over 200 people could be killed in a single day, and yet the perpetrators of this heinous crime were at large, could not be nabbed by the security operatives operating within the Nigerian terrain, and yet they know their base, they know their training grounds of these terrorists across the Nasarawa, Benue, Aziz, and the rest of them. They have not been arrested. So what does the future portend for this country, if not doom and calamity? Not until we move swiftly, we act swiftly to avert such escalations. But what we are seeing here does not inspire hope and confidence in the continued existence of Nigeria, as cited by Ahmadu Bello in 1944 and other, of course, concerns raised in most recent times. We are seeing it staring at us. Before independence, Tafawa Balewa too had in a public speech described Nigeria as a British experiment and Nigeria's unity as a British intention, which Nigerians themselves don't believe in. This is Tafawa Balewa again. But Zik kicked and demonized him too. You can see the atrocity of this Zik in question. Had Azikiwe cooperated with Enahoro Awolowo, Ahmadu Bello, and Tafawa Balewa about the secession clause, Nigeria perhaps would not have been this misgoverned. I agree with him. That is just the truth. For those in doubt, okay, you can see the realities. If Zik has cooperated with Ahmadu Bello, Awolowo, Tafawa Balewa to incorporate this clause, Nigeria wouldn't have been misgoverned today. In fact, the secession would have been a fundamental right entrenched. That notwithstanding, Nigeria is a signatory to the United Nations, of course, bordering on the rights of people to decide their political affiliations and the rest of them. So, by ratifications, Nigeria also adopts that right to self-defense. So, you can see why Nigeria has been and why Nigeria is still trapped in the state of motionless and despair. The same thing keep recycling itself today. Even you can sample the opinion of some Igbos, say, well, if P2B come there in the 4 years, what will improve? Are you here to manage life, to mainly exist? With the state of damage done to the Nigerian country, the economy of this country, the security of this country, where on earth do you believe that it could be fixed in a matter of 4 years? So what is better option? Is it the 4 years, continue wallowing in deception and telling us that the problem of Nigeria cannot be fixed in 4 years, so you shouldn't have to blame him? His only personal ambition was just to fulfill his lifetime ambition of becoming the president. Not even Tinubu has any solution to this country. None of the existing political elite has the solution to the problem of Nigeria today. None of them. Already, in less than 3 years, Tinubu has been described or perceived to be a monumental failure by the majority of Nigerians. He has not been impressive in his performance. He might claim he has other policies, he needed time to do what? He needed time to do what? These are mere political jamboree, political propagandas, just to buy time. Tinubu, Buhari have served his 8 years or whatever happens. He left. He packed whatever he needed to pack. Is everybody just put your bag and collect what you want to collect and get away? The nagging issues remain unaddressed. So if it will be coming again, I want to replace Tinubu. Is that a problem? So Igbos stupidly are buying into the same deception that Isaac Iwe and the rest of them bought into, that brought Nigeria, the Igbos, where they are today. In a country where the Igbos are not given the opportunity to express themselves and, of course, pursue their political ambitions and interests. So what else do you expect? That 4 years will now make it that Igbos have become president. Under what? Under stringent conditions and not having the liberty to express or to do what you know is right. So he will be handicapped. So what will he eventually do to address these nagging issues, bordering on insecurity, continued existence of Nigeria? a forced unity? Will he call for national conference? Several occasions such have been called, but because of vested interests, they don't want to relinquish power so that they will continue the unitary process of controlling exclusive lists in the federal government, controlling the resources and the rest of them. So they could manipulate it and trample upon anyone they want to do, and that is just the case. So I want you to have your own perspective regarding this. Is the fourth term, as Peter B publicly declared, I want to run for one term, one tenure of 4 years. Will that solve the problem of Nigeria? It will improve. What will improve? What exactly will improve? Is there any sustainability program after he left? The power returns to the north, and what else? So we cannot continue to live in denial. The north does not believe in the existence of Nigeria. The continued existence of Nigeria having been expressed by the northern leaders and opinion leaders from the north. Likewise, the west. This is what is happening when people say Tinubu is a sectional leader, is a by gods, is just selecting the Yorubas and the rest of them surrounding it. That is who they are. They weren't hiding themselves. Tinubu was a sectional, Buhari was a sectional. That is who they are. They never believed in one Nigeria. Sadly, the Igbos who claim they are more Nigerians than others are deceiving themselves big time. Deception. It's high time everybody rise. Of course, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has expressed his in-depth desire to move the Igbos, the Biafrans, forward. And the same political elites are opposing him, thinking that one Nigeria is where their umbilical cord has been buried, is where they will die, and where they believe they are fulfilled because of the inducement, monetary incentive or inducement, or the opportunity they have to embezzle, to defraud the people, the commonwealth and resources of the people at their own advantage and at the disadvantage of the people. So they feel relaxed, of course, and confidence that their future is secure, but not knowing that Nigeria is sitting at the cape of gunpowder might definitely explode if these issues, nagging issues, are not being addressed. What I should have expected Peter B and his like to be conversing for is not for coalition. The coalition was done several years ago by Nnamdi Azikiwe when the first time the North and the East formed coalition. And what happened thereafter? Peter B is now leading the same coalition with the North to unseat Tinubu, thinking that that is what they needed to do. That is, I mean, an error, a pattern, a demonic pattern operating with the intention to continue to subjugate the people, to keep the people in the dark. Why did not have told you we don't believe in one Nigeria, and they meant business about that? Rather than say it is time to address the truth, it is time to revisit the continued existence of Nigeria. We keep on living in denial. But whether you support them or whatever be the case, you continue to see that that is not the problem. Neither is that a quick fix for the problem. So we cannot continue to live in denial. The only solution has been expressed by Ahmadu Bello, Awolowo, Tafawa Balewa, is the disintegration of Nigeria. Let each region manage their resources, control themselves, and let this forced unity be amalgamated in the interest of humanity and preservation of self. Let's hear from you what you have to say regarding this development. Always a pleasure. I've been here today. Thanks for watching.